Ever feel like drowning in information these days?
Hmm.
I mean, you're not alone, right? You mentioned feeling overwhelmed, especially with AI generating content faster than ever.
Yeah.
So today, we're diving into the world of digital preservation, unpacking the challenges, exploring AI's role, and seeing how libraries are adapting.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? We have access to more information than ever before, yet the digital world is surprisingly fragile.
Mm.
Things disappear, technologies become obsolete, and it's a constant battle to preserve what's important.
It's like trying to build a library on quicksand.
Right.
And speaking of libraries, did you catch that article about South Korea's AI-powered textbooks? They're piloting them with actual students this year, which feels like a huge leap.
It's incredibly ambitious. Imagine a textbook that literally adapts to each student in real time.
Wow.
The AI analyzes their progress and customizes the content on the fly, creating a truly individualized learning path.
Sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel.
It does.
But it also makes you wonder about the practical side of things. What does it even mean for a textbook to be in constant flux? How do you ensure consistency or track what a student learned when the material itself is constantly shifting?
That's the million-dollar question. It challenges our whole notion of a fixed curriculum and standardized testing.
Yeah.
If every student is learning from a uniquely tailored version, how do we even begin to assess their understanding in a meaningful way?
Not to mention the potential for digital overload. Parents are already worried about screen time, and now we're talking about kids learning from devices that are constantly analyzing and responding to their every interaction.
And that brings us to another crucial question. What happens to source material in this brave new world of personalized education?
It's like, what are these AI textbooks even based on if they're constantly being rewritten and restructured?
Right.
Does a traditional textbook even exist anymore in this scenario? Or is it more like accessing a stream of information tailored to your specific needs at that moment?
This trend isn't limited to Korea either. Right here in the US, giants like Pearson and McGraw-Hill are integrating AI into their digital learning platforms.
So this idea of a constantly evolving textbook, personalized by AI, is something we're going to be grappling with for a while. But it makes you wonder, if these educational materials are always in flux, how will we archive them for future generations? What will researchers in the future make of these ever-shifting digital records of learning?
It's a fascinating and complex issue with no easy answers.
Right.
But it highlights the broader challenge we face in preserving knowledge in the digital age. How do we create a lasting record of something that's inherently fluid, dynamic, and constantly evolving?
Okay, so we've gone from AI-powered textbooks to the very nature of knowledge itself. But I think this is a perfect segue into the next big question. If even textbooks are becoming ephemeral, what hope do we have for preserving the rest of the digital world? I mean, remember that saying, the internet is forever.
That's where things get really interesting and a little scary, because the truth is the internet is anything but permanent.
It's almost like we've been sold this myth.
In a way, yeah. The internet gives this illusion of permanence.
Right.
Because information can be copied and shared so easily,
Mm.
but the reality is far more fragile.
Give it to me straight.
Okay.
What are we talking about?
We're facing what some experts are calling a digital dark age.
A digital dark age.
Uh,
Okay, that sounds a bit dramatic, I gotta say.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
It refers to the potential for a massive loss of digital information
Okay.
due to a whole host of factors. Websites vanish overnight, companies fold, taking their digital archives with them. Technology rapidly becomes obsolete.
Right.
Remember Adobe Flash?
Oh, Flash. I spent countless hours playing those browser games back in the day.
Right.
Now it's virtually extinct.
Exactly. And that's just one example. Imagine trying to access a website from the early 2000s today.
Oh, gosh.
You might need to find a vintage computer running an ancient operating system just to view the content.
It's crazy to think that something as recent as, like, the early internet is already slipping away. I remember spending hours on those old school social media sites,
Right.
like Friendster, meticulously customizing my profile.
And those are just the things we remember. Countless websites, documents, and even entire online communities have vanished without a trace. Gone, but not archived.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is a big deal.
Yeah,
It's not just about losing funny cat videos or nostalgic websites.
right.
What are the real consequences of this, like digital amnesia?
The implications are huge.
Yeah.
It impacts everything from academic research to our understanding of recent history and culture. Imagine trying to write a dissertation on early internet culture without access to those primary sources.
It'd be like trying to study ancient Rome by only looking at crumbling statues.
Right?
You'd be missing so much context.
Precisely. And it's not just academic. Imagine losing access to vital medical records,
Oh, wow.
legal documents,
Yeah.
or financial transactions because of outdated software or vanished websites.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about those practical implications. Okay, so we've established that the digital world is far more fragile than we might think.
Yes.
But let's say we want to tackle this.
Okay.
Let's say we decide to preserve everything, every blog post, social media update, And yes, even those questionable GeoCities pages.
Wow,
Is that even logistically possible?
that's where things get really challenging.
Yeah,
The sheer scale of the internet is mind-boggling.
it's huge.
We're talking about billions of web pages, countless files,
Right.
and a constant deluge of new data.
Yeah.
Even the Library of Congress,
Right.
as massive and impressive as it is woefully unequipped to handle the fire hose of information that is the internet.
And then there's the issue of cost, right? Storing and maintaining all that data requires massive server farms and a small army of technicians.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Digital preservation isn't as simple as hitting save.
Right.
It requires ongoing maintenance, constant migration to new technologies, and a deep understanding of how to ensure long-term access to digital materials.
It's easy to forget that those ones and zeros we rely on are actually physical entities stored on servers that require constant power and upkeep.
They are, yeah.
It's a massive logistical and financial undertaking.
It is, and just when you thought it couldn't get more complicated,
Huh?
we introduce AI into the equation.
AI, right. We were just talking about the overwhelming scale of the internet.
Yeah,
And now we're adding AI-generated content into the mix.
right.
That feels like it takes an already impossible task and makes it exponentially harder.
It certainly adds a whole new layer of complexity because how do you even define what constitutes AI-generated content?
Right.
Is it a blog post written by a bot, a deep fake video that's gone viral, a research paper partially generated by an AI assistant?
Right. And how do you archive something that might be constantly changing or updating itself? It's like trying to catch smoke.
And then there's the question of value.
Right.
With AI capable of churning out endless streams of content, how do we determine what's worth preserving? Is it simply a matter of historical curiosity? Or are there other criteria we need to consider?
Okay, so we've got this like perfect storm of challenges.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of information, the rapid pace of technological change, the legal and ethical complexities of digital archiving.
Right.
And now on top of all that, we're adding the wild card of AI-generated content.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin to untangle this mess?
It might seem overwhelming, but there are people and organizations tackling these challenges head on.
Well.
Groups like the Internet Archive and Wikimedia are doing incredible work,
Yeah.
creating digital repositories and fighting for open access to information.
They're like the digital librarians of our time trying to build a library for the entire internet.
That's a huge task.
Yeah, but they're facing an uphill battle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They rely heavily on donations,
Right.
volunteers, and public support. But the reality is, digital preservation at this scale requires significant resources, long-term funding, and a collective commitment to safeguarding our shared digital heritage.
So it's not just about individual efforts, it sounds like.
It's not, no.
We need governments and institutions to step up and recognize this as a priority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's precedent for this.
Okay.
Look at the New York Public Library's Theater on Film and Tape Archive.
Okay.
For decades, they've been recording and preserving live theatrical performances, even with all the complexities of copyright and performance rights.
So they've managed to navigate those legal and logistical challenges to preserve a vital part of our cultural heritage.
Precisely.
Right.
And that same commitment needs to extend to the digital realm.
Okay.
We need clear legal frameworks for digital preservation, robust funding for archiving initiatives, and a public that understands the importance of preserving our digital past.
And that's where libraries come in, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Libraries are uniquely positioned to play a crucial role in this new era of digital preservation and curation.
So it's not just about being custodians of physical books anymore.
It's not, no.
It's about being guides to the vast and often overwhelming world of digital information.
Exactly.
Right.
Libraries can curate collections of reliable online resources,
Right.
teach digital literacy skills, and help patrons navigate the complexities of AI-generated content.
It's like they become these centers for, like, not just accessing information, but for understanding how to evaluate it,
Yes.
how to think critically about it,
Right.
and how to contribute to preserving what's important.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Libraries have always been about connecting people with knowledge.
Right.
And in the digital age, that mission is more vital than ever.
So where does this leave us? If we
Yeah.
started this conversation feeling overwhelmed by the digital deluge,
Right.
I have to admit I'm feeling a bit more hopeful.
Okay.
This isn't just a problem for tech experts to solve.
Right.
It's a collective responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it starts with recognizing the value of our shared digital heritage.
Right.
It's about supporting the organizations working tirelessly to preserve it and demanding that our institutions prioritize its long-term care.
Because if we're not careful, we risk losing more than just data.
That's right.
We risk losing the stories, the knowledge, and the connections that make us who we are.
It's about recognizing that the digital world is not some separate entity.
Right.
It's an extension of ourselves, our creativity, and our shared human experience. And it's up to us to ensure that it endures for generations to come.